He looked at her vaguely. "You talk like a society lady," he said to her. "I am a society lady," said Miss Goring. "I'm also rich, but I have purposely reduced my living standards. I have left my lovely home and have moved out to a little house on the island. The house is in very bad shape and costs me practically nothing. What do you think of that?" "I think you're cuckoo," said Andy, not at all in a friendly tone. He was frowning darkly. "People like you shouldn't be allowed to have money." Miss Goring was surprised to hear him making such a show of righteous indignation. "Please," she said, "could you possibly open the window?" "There will be an awfully cold wind blowing through here if I do," said Andy. "Nevertheless," said Miss Goring, "I think I would prefer it." "I'll tell you," said Andy, moving uncomfortably around in his chair. "I just put in a bad spell of grip, and I'm dead afraid of getting into a draft." He bit his lip and looked terribly worried. "I could go stand in the next room if you want, while you get your breath of fresh air," he added, brightening up a bit. "That's a jolly good idea," said Miss Goring. He left and closed the bedroom door softly behind him. She was delighted with the chance to get some cool air, and after she had opened the window, she placed her two hands in the sill far apart from each other and leaned out. She would have enjoyed this far more had she not been certain that Andy was standing still in his room, consumed with boredom and impatience. He still frightened her a little, and at the same time she felt that he was a terrible burden. There was a gas station opposite the apartment house. Although the office was deserted at the moment, it was brightly lighted, and a radio on the desk had been left on. There was a folk song coming over the air. Soon there was a short rap at the bedroom door, which was just what she had been expecting to hear. She closed the window regretfully before the tune had finished. "Come in," she called to him. "Come in." She was dismayed to see when Andy opened the door that he had removed all of his clothing, with the exception of his socks and his underdrawers. He did not seem to be embarrassed, but behaved as though they had both tacitly understood that he was to appear dressed in this fashion. He walked with her to the couch and made her sit down beside him. Then he flung his arm around her and crossed his legs. His legs were terribly thin, and on the whole, he looked inconsequential now that he had removed his clothing. He pressed his cheek to Miss Goring's. "Do you think you could make me a little happy?" he asked her. "For heaven's sake," said Miss Goring, sitting bolt upright, "I thought you were beyond that." "Well, no man can really look into the future, you know." He narrowed his eyes and attempted to kiss her. "Now about that woman," she said, "Belle, who had neither arms nor legs?" "Please, darling, let's not discuss her now. Would you do me that favor?" His tone was a little sneering, but there was an undercurrent of excitement in his voice. He said, "Now tell me whatever it is that you like. You know, I haven't lost all my time these 2 years. There's a few little things I pride myself on." Miss Goring looked very solemn. She was thinking of this very seriously because she suspected that were she to accept Andy's offer, it would be far more difficult for her to put a stop to her excursions, should she feel so disposed. Until recently, she had never followed too dangerously far in any action. Until recently, she had never followed too dangerously far in action any course which she had decided upon as being the morally correct one. She scarcely approved of this weakness in herself, but she was to a certain extent sensible and happy enough to protect herself automatically. She was feeling a little tipsy, however, and Andy's suggestion rather appealed to her. One must allow that a certain amount of carelessness in one's nature often accomplishes what the will is incapable of doing, she said to herself.